Welcome to Meet Me in the Penthouse. I am Amy, along here with my sister Molly. We help high-achieving women increase their income, but most importantly, their impact. We are neighbors, sisters, and business partners. We have built 8-figure businesses together, traveled the world together, raised our children together, mentored thousands of men and women together, and it's all because we have a penthouse mindset. We aim for the top, and we show others how to empower themselves to peel back the layers and truly step into their greatness and calling. Welcome to Meet Me in the Penthouse.
Hello, everyone. This is your host, Molly Croker. I'm flying solo today. Welcome to Meet Me in the Penthouse, where we help high-achieving women not only make an income, but more importantly, an impact. And today, we have who I feel like is very famous in our town of 2,500 in Ashland, Nebraska, but she's getting her name out there because she's so dang good at what she does, you guys. I just fell in love with her. This is Damie Elder-Hiscock, and she is the owner. I mean, she's done a lot of things, so we're going to talk about this, but for those of you that are even close to the Midwest, especially if you're in Nebraska, you all have made a trip to Fariner. And I know you're like, Fariner, it's like, how do I say it? I'm going to let her share all of that. But this woman is talented beyond belief. And we're just going to talk to her because I just love what she's done for just the community, what she and her husband have done, but just who she is as a woman. So Damie, welcome to the show. And first of all, your name, like, I don't even think we've even talked about this. Damie. I mean, where did that come from?
Sure. It is not short for anything. It is actually my name, Damie. And it's actually my great grandmother's name. I've heard that she was from Denmark, and I've heard that it's actually not uncommon there, although I cannot confirm that. But yeah, I've never met anyone else
friends out there, please confirm with us. Please message us. Yes, thank you.
But yeah, it's unusual. I answer to a lot though. Jamie, Damie, whatever.
Oh yeah, I'm sure you do get Jamie all the time, like your Starbucks name, right? Like, what would you like your name to be? And you're like, no, it's Damie. I personally always put a stripper name. I'm like, how about Trixie this time? I mean,
oh, I love that.
But Damie, tell us a little bit about Fariner, about the name, about how you ended up there, because I mean, I don't think, if I'm right, you're not professionally trained, but grew up in the kitchen. So wherever you want to start, I know.
Awesome. Okay. So it means to flour in French. And so that's where the name came from, because we do a lot of that back on the table in the kitchen. It's the verb to flour. So I am not professionally trained. I'm self-taught. And it's been, a hobby of mine to bake and cook. I love feeding people. I've always loved feeding people. But here at the bakery opened during COVID. And I actually was not the one to open the bakery. There's another wonderful lady here in Ashland who was the one who had the vision of opening a bakery for the town. The town did not have a bakery before. And a bakery is just always such a heart of the town. And it was something that Ashland was missing. And so she found this old plumber shop. It was just being used as storage at the time. And she had it all stripped out and made it into the beautiful shop that it is. I came on board before we actually opened our doors. So I came on board when we were still test baking before the bakery opened. So I have been here for the time we've been open. I took over the kitchen shortly after we opened, about a month or two after. And I've been heading up the kitchen ever since. When I first came on, though, it was pretty random. I had been working at a hospital in Lincoln for about 7 years or so. And when I first started there, it was great. I loved my job. I ran all the credentialing and privileging for the hospital. It was super challenging. I got to work with a lot of people. It was fun. It was very fun. But one of the things with the job there was that it hadn't been updated to modern standards. So it was all still paperwork based. And so my job, I had just like I mean, everyone laughed about it. I had like piles and piles of paper that I was having to prep and run around for signatures and get them all completed and then get them all archived and
In the
kind of.
90s, right? Like the 90s.
No,
No?
this was, when did I start working there? I mean, I didn't start working there until
Oh my gosh,
probably,
wait, this was
I
like
mean,
2010, 20.
yeah, it was
Okay.
like, yeah, 2012 maybe even.
Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
like
It
the woman
sounded
who was,
like the 90s. It
yes,
sounded like the 90s.
yes, the woman who had been working there before me, she worked there for her entire career. And so when she started, it was like way back in, I mean, I think it was probably the 70s or 80s when she started there. And so once all the computer systems came around, it just never quite got updated. My office hadn't. And so when COVID hit, it was a great opportunity to make that update because I couldn't this way. And so I updated all the systems in the office to be computer, like computer signatures and everything. So I was sending everything around. And my job satisfaction tanked. It was terrible. I hated my job. Like it was great for the office that this got updated, but it was terrible for me. And
Did you love it? I mean, looking back on it, is the reason you loved it so much because you were literally running around, like seeing people like, I mean, I don't know if you'd refer to yourself as super extroverted or super introverted or both. I was saying like the reason that you went from I love my job to I hate my job now is going right on a computer all the time. Do you think what made
Mhm.
you love it is like being around people, feeling people's energy? I mean,
Mhm. I think it was two things. I think it was, yeah, definitely working with people and feeling their energy and working together, but also create, like, even though it was all paperwork, it was actually doing stuff with my hands and seeing like a physical object, like grow. And I loved the packets, like all the complete packets. I loved, I don't know, just doing something that had like a physical, visible completion. And yeah, the computer it just never has that. It never has that.
this is so true. And this is
Mhm,
so good to think about. Like even the way your kids are wired or you're wired, like
mhm,
very perceptive that you ended up then taking something, a hobby that you've always loved and like,
mhm.
I hate my job. Now I'm gonna pivot.
Yeah, when I first started here, like we weren't in a position for me to leave my job yet. And so I actually started here as a weekend baker. So I was there at the hospital. It was during COVID, so we were all working extra hours. And I was probably working 60 plus hours at the hospital during the week. And then I would come and I would morning bake here on Saturday and Sunday and usually run a 10 to 12-hour shift those mornings. And
And
Jared
morning
was home
bake
with the
starts at what
kids,
time?
4 a.m. Yeah.
And you don't live in Ashland at this time, so you're
No,
driving.
I was commuting in from Lincoln and I wasn't, doing it for an extra paycheck. I was just doing it for fun because I needed to do something for me because I was just dying. It was terrible. And so I started here just as a for fun side project. And then when we lost the head baker that we had started with, there was a need here at the bakery. And I had been here for about a month or so. And my husband, Jared, he had just gotten a full-time offer in his field up in Omaha. And so we're like, well, maybe now's the time to actually make the big shift. And so I talked with the old owner here and yeah, just, kind of gave her what I would like to do and taking over the kitchen. And yeah, we made that happen. So I came on kind of slowly over the next few months. I left the hospital. It took some time to leave the hospital and came on here more and more. And then we moved out to Ashland in June and we've been here ever since.
So June of 2021.
Mm, let's see, what year was it? We've been open now for 3.5 years and we're 25. So yeah, oh, it was 2022. We opened December 2021 and then I took over the kitchen in about February, March, and then we moved here in June. Yeah.
And how long was, this is really important because I always say entrepreneurs know how to pivot. They just do.
Uh-huh.
And so did you have a safety net? I'm sure leaving the hospital job of working 60 hours a week
Uh-huh.
to this didn't line up financially.
Oh no. Mm-mm. I
Like,
took a 50% pay cut.
There we go,
Yeah.
friends. 50% pay cut, which that is so common amongst people that end up wanting to own their own life. And I know that's not why you left. You left because, oh my
Mhm.
gosh, I get to use my hands and be create
Yeah.
and get my hands on something and watch it grow like you had been doing at the hospital.
Yeah.
So that's really important. And was Jared on board with this? Were you terrified? Were you scared or were you excited?
Yeah, good question. I mean, some of both for
Yeah.
sure. We ran the numbers a million times and you find all the ways that you could kind of make it work. But, you can never plan out everything. You just can't. And you just have to take the dive at some point. And really, the big thing for us was because Jared had the other offer, he could carry our family's health insurance because this, of course, did not come with health insurance. I had always been carrying that under my job. And we have, kids at home. And so it's always a big deal for us having that in place. So that's what had held us back before. So without that, even with the pay cut, we're like, as long as that health insurance is in place, we can make the money work. We'll just figure it out. The one thing that, it's really the thing that we had done years before that put us in a position to be able to do it was that we had bought a house in Lincoln. It was the first house we ever bought back in, when was it? It was probably about 2012. And we had bought a house that was not in good shape. It was not in a great neighborhood, but it let us get out of the whole apartment game, just paying rent and getting nothing back. And so we bought a house and we worked on fixing it up. And we lived there for about 5, 6 years. And it took that long to fix the whole thing. But we went over that whole house, the backyard. It was gorgeous by the time we left. And when we sold it, we made more than 100% profit back on that house. And that is what allowed us to make the move out to Ashland.
And that is just, okay, I love that because my husband and I were even saying, like right now, a lot of, and even my niece who's 25 was saying a lot of her friends prefer to rent. They don't want to own. And it's things like that where you're like, I know we were 22 when we bought our first house. I was in grad school. And so we bought it on Calvin's income, which was not significant by any means at 24 years old. But because we bought that first property, same thing. I mean, we did not make 100%, but we made a little bit more that we could buy the next thing and buy it.
Yeah, it lets you take that next step, the next step.
And you did, okay, is it you? You're handy, right? Not Jared.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so there's a few projects that we hired out for sure, like painting the exterior. There's no way I'm getting up on those ladders. But for the most part, the projects that needed to be done, I did. I didn't go into buying this house knowing how to do all that stuff, but I always credit it to, it's definitely partially personality, but also I was homeschooled for a good stretch from 4th to 10th grade. And I feel like one thing that good homeschooling really gives you is the ability to research. That you learn what you want to learn and you know how to go out there and learn it. And so, when the kitchen needed to be remodeled, it was a full gut job in the kitchen. And you just get out there and learn what needs to be done and then get your hands in it. And it's not going to be perfect. You're going to have mistakes. You might need to rip out and redo. But now it's super fun because I have all those skills under my belt. And so now we're into, we have another project house here in Ashland. And lots of this stuff, it's not my first go around on it. And so it's kind of fun.
Honestly, I think that's incredible. You've done everything. I know from plumbing to electrical
Yeah.
to flooring.
Yep.
Everything. And it's just because you figured it out. Like you didn't second guess yourself. And I think so many of us are like, we're not going to do it if it's not perfect.
Yeah.
Rip and review. I love what you just said. Rip and review. I'm sure you've done that a time or two.
Yeah, we have, everyone does their life differently and it's not right or wrong, but Jared and I, we've always been very of the mindset that when you make a decision, you just have to move. You cannot wait for everything to be in place. Never will everything be in place and ready to go. You got to if you want to head a direction, you got to just start heading that direction. Life is finite. You don't know how long you actually have for something, and things are always shifting. So you might not be able to start moving that direction if you wait. So yeah.
Do you
Yeah.
think you've always had that in you? I mean, you said you were homeschooled from fourth grade to your sophomore year, grew up in Oregon,
All over.
all over.
My parents moved a lot. And so my sister and I, it wasn't a big deal to move. While we were moving around, we were mostly homeschooled. So it's not like we're uprooting from a school, which I'm sure would make things more difficult. But it was never a big deal to move to a different town, to move to a different community. You just, you find your crowd where you go. And so I think that probably made it a little easier just because I've been doing that my whole life, where it's not a big deal if you need to just change course. If you
Yeah,
have a new dream, if you have, make your life what you want it to be.
absolutely. I love that. And I remember you sharing a story with me that you grew up cooking. I mean, more so than your sister.
Well, my mom's Mexican, and so it is a big part of the culture, just feeding and taking care of people, especially for the women. And so it's just me and my sister in the family. And we've been in the kitchen since we were little. I remember we would always split up the chores, and I hate doing laundry. It is, oh my goodness, it's the bane of my existence. And so my sister would actually always do the laundry, and I would take the kitchen chores. And so I would wash all the dishes, and lots of times I would make dinner. And I mean, and I'm sure not all the time. I'm sure my mom would probably listen to this and be like, no, I'd make dinner most of the time. I'm sure she would most of the time. But I mean, I remember making family dinner from the time I was, 6 years old, multi-courses. And yeah, it's fun. It's always been fun. But I didn't bake much. I did not bake much as a kid. I much preferred cooking.
I
Mhm.
find it so interesting because baking to me, I love to bake until
Yeah.
you came over. Then I was like, by the way, I am not baking at all. That would be embarrassing. So, but I love baking because I'm such a scientist and it's such a
Yes.
science where cooking, my husband is much better. And that's like such a creative. So
Yes.
I'm surprised I could see you cooking, which of course you do both well, but
Mhm.
that leads us into the whole baking question. I mean, here
Yeah.
you are now the head baker, truly,
Mhm.
in a small town here, 50% in your wages cut. That happens next.
Well,
Did you create the incredible sourdough or where did he start from?
okay, so the previous owner, she built the starter the summer before we opened. It takes a while to build a starter and get him like really, really solid. So she started him in the summer at her home, but he's been here ever since we opened. I mean, since before we opened, we started test baking with him here in the kitchen, but we didn't even have our oven. Well, we've changed ovens now, but the oven that we were baking with came in I think the day before we opened our doors. So we weren't even test baking in the oven that we were baking in for the bakery, which I mean, as anybody who bakes knows that environment changes everything. It was a different type of oven. I mean, it can change from kitchen to kitchen. I mean, it's wild. And so, yeah, the sourdough that we are actually test baking, it wasn't actually a valid test bake because it was in a completely different oven and method of baking. So it was kind of a wild ride there at the beginning.
And how did that first sourdough come out?
I mean, when we were test baking, we got it like really gorgeous. It's very different than it is now. I was not heading the bread program when the bakery started. It's one of the things that I took over pretty quickly. But all that test baking, it was under someone else's direction. So the sourdough now that we have is quite a different product. It was great, what we had before, but it's not our current bread.
I like when you said I took over the bread project. I'm like, I love how that is said. Okay, so you're growing up, were you
Mhm.
making, well, obviously sourdough has taken off. I feel like this is the year of the sourdough and
Right.
now it's
Mhm.
like, now it's a healthy food. It's a health food
Yeah.
now. So it's good for your gut. I know I send you articles too that are like, freeze it, you should really promote this. Like if you should freeze it and then
Right.
toast it again,
Mhm.
it's like even better for you. And so what do you feel like the bakery now, like once
Mhm.
you took it over, which was a year ago?
Yes, it's actually okay. This is kind of wild. We bought the bakery a year ago tomorrow
Oh, that's on April Fool's Day.
on April Fool's Day. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's right. You're like, this is no joke. We're buying it. What a way
Yes.
to celebrate then having you here.
Yeah. And I mean, when we bought the bakery, that was a whole thing too, because I had been here at the bakery for a long time. And I mean, a long time, a couple of years, but our family was kind of at this crossroads because my husband, he's an opera singer. He had always been pursuing being a college professor. He's been teaching in higher education for a long time. He has his doctorate in vocal performance. And so the job that he had currently had, it was a time limited position. And so he is coming to the end of that. And in his world, that means that you put out your feelers, I mean, anywhere. I mean, it could be anywhere in the world, but definitely anywhere in the country. And so then the question was, okay, if he gets a job that isn't close, which is the most likely, I mean, it's not likely for him to get a job in commutable distance. Are we moving? Because up until this point, it's always been a hard yes. You know, wherever Jared's career goes, that is where the family goes. My job has always been super movable and just, you know, doing office work kind of stuff. And the kids, I mean, we'll pick up and go. But this is the first time where we've been at that crossroads, and the answer has not been a hard yes. And we're like, are we okay leaving Ashland? Are we okay leaving the bakery? Like, I don't want to do that. Like, I love the schools here for the kids. We've had some hard times in schools before. We have a couple kids who are a little neurodivergent, and the schools here have been amazing for them. And the bakery, like, I don't want to leave. I don't. And so it was a pretty hard few months there where we were really wrestling with it. And he was looking around and he was putting out some CVs. But yeah, like I think he had gotten a couple of requests to go interview and he didn't even go because we're like, but if you did get the offer, we don't want to go. And but there was, what do we have here? I mean, at that point, I was just an hourly worker here at the bakery. But the previous owner was, I think, feeling a little burned out. She has another business here. And, you know, I can't speak for her, but yeah, I talked with her and I let her know, you know, if you're ever wanting to offload the bakery, Jared and I are very interested. And it just kind of sat out there for a while before we actually sat down and had a serious conversation about it. And I mean, I will be forever grateful to her and her husband because we were able to put together a deal that made it a viable option for us. And it changed our lives. It's been amazing. Jared's come on full time. He's teaching at the university in town 2 days a week. And so he's still, you know, in his field that he loves and teaching students one-on-one, which is great. But then he's also here full time at the bakery and he leads our bar program. He's our wine guy. He leads the front of house team. You know, he's the people person. I'm the one who tends to like to be in the back. And so it's so fun. I mean, Jared and I are best friends and we love to just be together. And so it's been the best. You know, neither of us have to like leave for work. We just come and work and then we go home with the kids and the kids come here after school and it's the best. It's the best.
Okay, for people listening that haven't ever been your bakery, I always say it's better than being in France. I mean, I've been to Paris once, I'm going back again, but it literally is, it's bananas how good everything is. Like bananas. And everyone that comes agrees. I mean, there's a reason there's a line out the door. I love that on Saturdays and Sundays it takes 45 minutes to get from the back of the line to the front. I think that's magical. Yes, you call ahead, but
Yes.
standing there having great conversations with people and
Yeah.
you've expanded into your pizza night
Yeah.
once a month. Your dinners sell out like that. You know, we've been to many of them and they have been, I mean, dining in fine places, you know, all over the world. It's pretty magical what you bring to Ashland because the French night, for instance, Mediterranean night, just and half the time I'm like, did you know? You're like, oh, it's the first time I've sous vide lamb chops. Like, I'm like, of course it is. Of course. Like, it's like you have magic hands, Damie. You really do. And you're so modest and it is. I mean, you do work really, really well together. And I just love the energy that you bring, the fact. And we were just sharing with people out here at the lake that didn't even know. My husband was saying where he gets the best Manhattan. And he said, well, Jared. And people looked at him and they're like, what? Yeah, they're open late on Friday and Saturday nights for cocktails until 10. And I mean, you really have just created this amazing thing. I know it comes with a lot of hard work that you're going to be very, I mean, you're so humble to say, like, oh, it's so great. We all get to be together. But I know you're up early. What time do you automatically wake up?
I mean, I'm usually checking my phone every day at about 3:30 a.m. because even though I'm not here baking every morning at 4 a.m., I have my bakers here. And so I'm always checking to see, are they okay? Do they need anything? Was anything missed? Is the power off? I mean, who knows? Or, did they wake up sick and I need to get up and go down and bake for them? We have a great team here, but Jared and we really make a point of making sure that, whatever happens, because there's always something happening. There's always something happening. And we're always here to back them up. Like, we are always here so that if, somebody has an event they have to go to, somebody woke up sick, somebody's, grandma's in the hospital, it's okay. We all have a life, and the bakery is very important for our family, obviously, but at the end of the day, we're selling pastry and you need to be there for your family. We all do. And so we try to make sure that that's a reality for all of our workers.
And everyone that works for you says that too. Like it's a family. It's not like I'm clocking in, clocking out. Let's get out of here as fast as I can. What has been the hardest thing when you took over the bakery? Like, what was the hardest lesson you learned right away when you became the owner?
I think, we had a pretty harsh wake up call about a month or so into owning the bakery. We lost a lot of workers who we love. They're wonderful. But there was such a fast culture change at the bakery. And so the job was no longer a good fit for a lot of people, which is no one's fault. It just is. And so, but there was a lot of blame being thrown around, which was hard to see. And I think it was jarring, but it was also a good lesson that, like, when we know what we need to do for the business and for what we need the business to be for everyone, we need to just do that. And if it's no longer the right position for someone, it's fine. It's not that it's, any judgment call on anyone, but like, the position changes and it's a fun job. It is. It's a super fun job. It's also a very hard job. It's, high pressure. It's a lot of physical work, and it just isn't for everyone. That's okay.
Yeah.
So,
Yes.
yeah. So yeah, that was tough, and it's taken a long time to really grow our team. We have a few people who are still on the team from before we bought the bakery, and we love them to death. It's great. And we have so many new team members who are so great. They're awesome. And we've had some team members that we've brought on that haven't worked out because it's not a great fit. It's no judgment calling them as a person, but it hasn't been a great fit. And so again, to like realize that sooner rather than later for everyone's sake. But yeah, staffing is hard because you love your employees, but they're your employees as well. And so sometimes there's tough calls to be made, which is hard. It is not a part of the job I enjoy. It is the worst part of the job.
Yes. Yes. Which that's so good for people to remember when they're starting a brick and mortar. Like, when you do have employees, what is the craziest message you've ever woken up to at 3:30 in the morning?
The craziest message. Well, morning baker came and there was no power at the bakery. That happened a couple times last summer. And so then it's this guessing game of, well, is it coming back on soon? How long has it been off? Are we just closed for the day, or do we wait around and see? And there's no good answer. You just have to guess.
And I love that. I love that you just said that. There is no good answer. You just have to guess. There's nothing that prepares you for power being off and how long it's going to take.
Yeah, at all. I actually missed a couple weeks ago. I had Sunday morning bake. And so normally we start at 4 a.m. and my alarm hadn't been on. And of course, it's one of the mornings that I don't wake up. I always wake up at that time. And I woke up and I was thinking, oh, I still have time to sleep. This is nice. My alarm hasn't gone off yet. And I checked the time and it was 5:30. And
Oh
So
my
I
gosh.
gasped and I jumped out of bed, and Jared, bless his heart, he was like, do you need me to come down to you? I was like, yes, please. And so we both ran down to the bakery, and he has my second set of hands, and it all worked out okay. But I mean, there's so many just like, mini heart attacks you have along the way. But
Oh,
also at the end of the day, we're just selling pastry. It's okay. We're just selling pastry. So
I was just going to ask you, have you ever missed your alarm? And you just answered that question. So there we go. Have there ever been times, be honest, where you're like, this is just too much work?
yeah, I think Jared feels that more. I tend to get a little obsessive about my work. And so, yeah, I don't know. I mean, there's been a couple times where I've been pretty dead on my feet. And I still have morning bake the next morning and a dinner the night after. And, I'm headed into a big weekend, but I'm already blown out. And I mean, it's just, it's exhausting. But I mean, you get a good night's sleep, or at least, a few hours sleep.
Right.
And then I love it. I love it. And so, it works out. It
It
works.
doesn't last forever. I think that's
Yeah.
just something to remember when you are a business owner. This isn't forever. This isn't
Mm-hmm.
going to be forever. So I know we've talked a lot about the business and everything, and maybe that's not the hardest thing, but the hardest thing that's happened to you in your young years here on earth. Is it the business? Is it not the business?
It is definitely not the business. Yeah. No, the business is a joy, really, all the time, both Jared and I. When it comes down to it, the business is such a gift. It's amazing. Everything comes with hard parts, but no, the business is
Yeah.
great. No, the hardest thing is definitely it comes up sometimes here at the bakery because of course everyone sees us here all the time. All of our kids come here after school all the time. They hang out. And when we're chatting with people, they'll ask us, "Oh, how many kids do you have?" We have 4 kids, but there's only ever 3 boys here at the bakery. And it's because our oldest died when she was a year and a half. And it was before any of the boys were born. They've never met her, but she is very much a part of our lives. She is their sister, and yeah, they know all about her. They have pictures of her on their iPads they like to look at. And I mean, we were really young when it happened. We'd been married for a couple of years. And I mean, Jared and I, we've known each other for a long time, though we were best friends for years before we ever got together. And then we had Ryan, our daughter, a year and a half after we got married. We were in our early 20s, and she was perfect. And we made one of those, like leaps in life, and we moved here to Lincoln. We are from the Pacific Northwest out in Walla Walla, Washington. And it was a funny gap in our lives. Jared hadn't gotten into a master's program, and I had gotten a job offer in Lincoln. And so we moved. And Jared was going to be a stay-at-home dad for a year. And he had that for 2 weeks. And then she died. And it was, I mean, no one expected it, but it was very sudden. And it was honestly like once, we got all the results back from autopsy and I talked with different doctors, it was amazing that she hadn't had chronic problems. It's wild. And it's wild that no one saw it coming and that nothing had happened to give us warning but having that happen where we didn't have a support system yet, we didn't know people here yet. I mean, everything was back on the table when that happened. Are we moving back to Washington? Are we staying here in Lincoln? What is Jared doing this year? Because his plans were blown apart. I mean, going from being parents of a toddler to being just a couple again was a wild shift. And then when the boys came, going from being like a girl family to now we are like such a boy family. Oh my goodness. That was a wild shift too. And, there's a million things about it that when I think about it, I'm so thankful that it happened the way that it did. However, that being said, I'm a huge believer in optimism and, looking on the bright side and all this stuff. But all that being said, I mean, there's nothing that makes it better.
Right.
Losing a kid is just the most awful thing that could happen. And it's terrible, period. It is
Yeah.
awful. So that's definitely the hardest thing. But I think it has ingrained in me and Jared the idea of when we know what we want and know the direction we want to head, why wait? Like, you do not know what is around the corner. Like, I mean, you just don't. Like, Jared might go up to Omaha for a pickup order tomorrow and die in a car accident and be just me and the boys. And you cannot wait for what you want to do. You just got to do it.
Oh my gosh. I feel like a part of why Ryan was here, it's just like your perspective on life and making decisions. And you're such examples of that, of go after what you want. You don't get promised another day. And I also love just the way that you handle that conversation, because I think there's a lot of parents in your position of, what do I say?
Yeah.
And the way that you handle it with such grace and just love, and it's just always just done in such a beautiful way. And I want you to know that. I think you're teaching so many parents that it's okay to talk about the hard, and it's okay to say, we have 4 kids and 3 are present. I mean, I just think that is such a part of your story. Like you said, do we wish it would have happened to somebody else? Yes, but it happened to us, and it's part of our story. And we've had a lot harder times than waking up late for a bakery call.
Yep.
At the end of the day, we sell pastries, which are pretty freaking amazing. And I love you just being real and raw and sharing like all the good and the bad. And with that, do you think you'll ever expand? I know our son's in commercial real estate, and spoken to Jared, I mean, what would be a bigger goal than where you are right now? A bigger
Sure.
dream.
I mean, it's definitely on our minds. Get asked that a lot. We've expanded the bakery and what it's had to offer a lot in the year that we've owned it, offering the dinner nights, sourdough classes, macaron classes, the pizza night. We expanded the hours drastically. So we have a full bar program. But again, we're kind of at that point where we're like, I don't know if there's any room for much more growth here. We're kind of maxed out and not only just in hours and offerings, but space. I mean, the space here in our location is very limited. And right now, so far, the answer has been no at the moment, partly because, it's the first year we've owned it. It's the new baby. We're still in the newborn stages. And I mean, to focus on anything else is just why, we're not there yet, which is also part of the reason why, the crazy hours hasn't been an issue. I mean, it's the first year. It's not the time to be trying to make those boundaries yet. But, as we move forward, it's definitely on the table. So I don't know exactly what that'll look like. We've been bouncing around a lot of ideas, whether it's other locations of Fariner, or maybe it's a truck of some sort. If it's a restaurant, I'm not quite sure. We've been thinking about it.
And I look forward to, as well as so many of us, to continuing to follow along. You have incredible social media. I love your social media. If you're not on Damie and Jared's email blast, like that is, first of all, and I told you that right away. I was like, if you weren't so busy, I'd have you write for us, because you're a tremendous writer. Your emails are beautiful, and just what you put out is been like, you don't see it anywhere else. It's truly a gift to the Midwest and to Ashland, and I feel like I am your biggest word of mouth referral, because I just love you both, but also just what you do for the community. And so always giving back at pizza nights. Like, are you kidding me? It's just amazing. But I'm not kidding you. If you've not been to Fariner, come. And I always tell people, remember, like, yay for bread, Fariner. And so you say it so much more eloquently, but that's the way I have people try and remember it. But I am just, Damie, I'm so grateful for just your vulnerability, your authenticity, who you are. You're the one in the back baking away, but the most valuable person in there. And I just love, love, love your brand, love your bakery as humans. And we always end with this question, our podcast is called Meet Me in the Penthouse. And what does that mean to you, living in the penthouse?
I think kind of two things in tandem. Moving forward to make your life what you want it to be, it's not going to appear for you. You need to make it. But part of that is having the mindset for it. If you're going around looking for all the things that are going wrong, things are going to keep going wrong. That's all you're going to see. You're not going to have much to make anything out of. If you're going through life and you're specifically, you're attuned to look for the good things happening, there's going to be a lot more good.
Amen. Amen. That's why you attract the good, because you vibrate in the penthouse. And so thank you so much. If you are following along, the way you spell it, if you're following them on Instagram, is at FARINER.
Perfect.
That's how you find them. So half the time I spell it wrong, but that is the best way to follow along and support them. And someday, I mean, I don't know how you'd ship out a sourdough because it's better than anything you've ever had in San Francisco, folks. I guarantee it. So it's worth the trip in and follow along. We love having you. And for those of you that are waiting for our next program to roll out, make sure you email us at sistersnextdoor.com and get on the wait list for our next coaching program. And we do have a mastermind now on that program that we offer, because I know so many of you want community and that is what you're craving so much. So we are building that, and I'm excited to have you follow along with us on the journey. So Damie, thank you so much. I love you. We all love you. We're so appreciative of you. And thank you, friend.
Thanks, Molly.
Hey guys, we'd love to have you join our waitlist for our class of You from the Top. There are going to be incredible women who are making incredible, decisive, clear decisions. The energy is fabulous. The view from the top is fabulous. And there's room for you at the top. Go to sistersnextdoor.com and join our waitlist.